Now, while we're here, there are some notes on my whiteboard that I'm just not going to erase because they've been here since the start of this gym. I'll explain a couple because you might be wondering. So yes, in this gym, we do practice BDSM. What's up, fellow fitness enthusiasts? Welcome back to my channel. Today, what I'm going to tell you is how you can write your own program. Now, this is going to be a very general overview. We can't dive into all these or the video would be way too long. But in future videos, I will go more into depth in some of these programming and periodization techniques. But I just want to provide you with, step one. If you were looking at how to build your own program, what's kind of the framework for it, this is going to be it. And don't worry, I know this is small writing, it's probably hard to read. I'll go through each of these. It's just good to have a little outline, Now, these tips are going to be specifically for a hypertrophy program, so to build muscle. Now, you're always going to be building a little strength. It's just not going to be optimized for strength when you're doing these kind of steps. But if you're a beginner, don't worry about it. You're always building strength. You're always building muscle. That strength will come first. So if you're not seeing size gains for, a couple months here and there, just give it some time. Your strength is actually mostly neural, and you won't actually see size from strength. The muscle comes second. So be patient. Now, right off the rip, if you are a beginner, so, first couple years of lifting, going to the gym, you don't want to concentrate. And what a concentration is basically when you're looking at your program, when you've been lifting for a long time, you can't be like, all right, I want to do 20 sets of chest, triceps, biceps, quads, calves, right? You can't do 20. That's just not attainable. It's also, you can't recover from. You're going to be hitting your maximum recoverable volume on all of those. And that's just not something you can do. So if you're a beginner, don't worry about it. Just hit all of them as much as you can. Throw in as much volume. You're going to get those newbie gains. It's going to be amazing. Now, if you're intermediate or advanced, you do want to choose 1 to 2 muscle groups to focus on. So let's say you really want to build your chest and your quads. There you go. You're throwing more intensity, volume, and frequency into those 2 muscle groups. And then some of the other ones will have to go on maintenance. And that's just the way it works. You can't always be building everything up. And if you're always trying to do that, you're going to be leaving gains on the table. So my top tip for focusing on those, put them on separate days. And always do those exercises. So say it's chest and quads, like the example. I'm always going to do my chest exercises on that day first, right? I'm going to have the most energy for them. I'm going to be able to get the most stimulus out of those. And then I'm not going to follow up with quads after that. That'd be a weird day anyway, but some people do full body because then I already use so much energy for the chest. And if I'm really trying to grow my quads as well, I want to do those on a completely separate day. And I want to do those first. Step number 2. And what you should know is a lot of these numbers are going to be based on the most current hypertrophy research. So what you want to do is for frequency, you want to hit each muscle group at least twice a week. And that's going to make sense once we start looking at how many reps you want, is you're not going to be able to fit as many reps and sets in one day. If you just do your chest one day, you're not going to be able to do 20 sets. And even if you do, you're hitting junk volume probably about halfway through, and you're just not getting that stimulus to growth ratio that we're looking for. So 2 times per week minimum. So I'd say all the muscles, if you are concentrating, all the muscles you're putting on maintenance, 2 times a week. And then for chest and quads, we'll keep using that example, maybe 2-3 times a week as your program allows. And as your program progresses, you might want to be doing them sometimes 4 times a week. And obviously this also depends on how many times a week you go to the gym. On that note, in my opinion, ideally 3 times minimum. That's going to be a really easy way to write your program. Going 2 times a week, it just gets tricky because you're going to have to basically do full body each day. For me personally, I've always found the best results going 5 to 6 times a week. I know not everybody can do that. What I would suggest is 4 times is a really good middle ground because then you can, dedicate 2 days to specific muscle groups and then just basically repeat those on the other 2 days. It just really cleans up your program. It makes it really easy to write. Now, step number 3, this is in terms of reps. So to build muscle, you want to do anywhere from 6 to 30 reps. So let's say you're at the gym, you go to a new machine, sometimes you don't know the weight because there's the weird ratios, the pulleys, and you end up doing, let's say 32 reps. With that exercise specifically, what I would do is then increase the weight. Now, if you take the flip of that and you only do 4 to 5 reps, that's a lot more strength focused. So what I would do is decrease the weight and try to hit anywhere in that 6 to 30 reps with the caveat of trying to get close to failure, maybe 1 rep, so 1 RIR, or hitting failure completely. Now, this is a little bit more of an advanced periodization technique, and we can get into it in another video. So I'll just generally go over it. But really, it's good to build your fatigue over the weeks. So let's say you're doing a 5-week program. You do not want to hit failure on all your exercises that first week. you'll hit way too much fatigue, it'll be hard to recover, these sort of things. So normally what I do is I stay about 2 to 3 reps in reserve from failure for the first week, maybe 2. Then as I get closer to the end of the program, I'm doing 2 reps in reserve for a whole week, 1 rep in reserve, and then the last week I usually hit to failure. Tip number 4, you want to start at 2 to 3 sets per exercise per week. Now with the ones that you're focused on, you can maybe start higher than that, maybe 3 or 4 sets. But it's the same kind of concept as you don't want to just start at 5 sets the first week and then hit so much fatigue. And really, where are you going to go? I mean, where are you going to go after 5 sets? You're not going to get at the end of the program and be doing like 10 sets on each exercise. That's a little insane to me. So start at 2 to 3, and then as the weeks progress, you can do one of 3 things. You can either add more sets, you can add more frequency, so you do that muscle group more times per week, or you add more intensity, which would be more weight on the bar or on the machine. It doesn't really matter which one you do. It's kind of personal preference. As long as you're doing some of those each week to an exercise or to all your exercises, you're getting progressive overload, and that means you're building muscle. Step number 5, you want to aim for anywhere of 8 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. And so this is kind of going back to that number 2, is that if you were only to hit a muscle group once a week, and I'm telling you to get 8 to 20 sets, towards the end of the program, you're going to have to be doing 20 sets of quads in one day. And you're just going to hit junk volume. There's no way around it. You could do 20 sets. I could do 20 sets still. I'm getting older, right? But after about 10 sets of, so maybe 2 exercises of 5 sets, those last 10 sets are just not going to have the intensity. They're not going to give you the stimulus that you want. So that's why that frequency comes into play, especially if you're concentrating on muscle groups. You want to be doing at least 2, maybe 3 to 4 times, and really split up this volume. And then the last step, which I get a lot of questions about because people are scared to do this. We won't get too into it right now. This will be a whole nother video. If you're a beginner, don't worry about deloading. Just keep doing progressive overload until you start noticing that you might need to deload. And you will know when you need to deload, trust me. If you're intermediate or advanced, this is a very general recommendation. You got to kind of test out what works best for you. 6 to 8 weeks for men, then you take a deload week. And on a deload week, very general again, I would do maybe 50% of your volume, 50% of the weight, or you can just do 50% of the volume, keep the weight. There's a lot of different parameters you can do. Really what you're trying to do is hit a lot of recovery, because this is where you can actually build a lot of muscle. So you don't want to keep damaging and then going into another program week, right? So if you're doing a mesocycle, so 3 months, you do your first month or first 5 weeks, whatever it is, and then you do a half deload week, or you're scared to deload, so you keep going. You're just going to come into that first week where you need to be going hard again. You're going to be coming in fatigued. So that's what this is. It's a good fatigue reset. So for men, 6 to 8 weeks, feel it out for yourself. And for women, it's about 8 to 12 weeks. For me personally, I do about 5 weeks on, and then I take a deload week, and I do another 5 weeks on, deload, 5 weeks on, deload, and then I'll kind of switch up my programming. Now, obviously, in between that first and second program, I might switch up some exercises, but I'm really keeping my concentration. So if I'm doing chest and quads, like our example, I'm doing that for 3 consecutive programs in a row. Now, while we're here, there are some notes on my whiteboard that I'm just not going to erase because I've been here since the start of this gym. I'll explain a couple because you might be wondering. So yes, in this gym, we do practice BDSM. But what you have to understand is that actually stands for bench, deadlift, squat, and military. All right, so don't get that twisted. And then we'll go through one more, and that's this. Dolores Umbridge. If you know, you know. I see that name, instant anger, and I instantly want to do more weight and more reps. All right, that's really it. I know this is very basic for some of you, but a lot of these things people don't know, and they have to rely on other people to write programs. And I want you to be able to do this for yourself, because it's very fulfilling when you write a good program and you see growth. So I mentioned before, but I will be making more videos about these kind of things specifically. But if you have questions about anything specifically that I talked about in this video, leave a comment and I'll be sure to find the answer for you.